shots in Fargo is the place to be. All this and more on the next Bonnie and Friends beginning at 5 a.m. Join us.
And welcome to Weather and Ag in Focus. Thanks for joining us today on this lovely Monday, albeit cold. I'm Chief Meteorologist Dean Wysocki, along with Meteorologist Justin Storm and our wonderful, talented Ag Director, Bridgette Readel. How was the weekend, guys?
You know, it was good. Kinda.
Just kinda.
It was good, but very little sleep.
Okay. Well, I can understand that. And Bridgette, the Vikings won.
Baby.
Bison won. It's a good weekend.
I don't have a new baby in the house, so I'm getting all sorts of sleep these days. Good that the Vikings won. Yay for some people. Bigger deal the Bison won. It's been a great weekend of things going on. And, you know, that weather on Friday was pretty fast moving. It wasn't nearly as terrible as some thought.
No. And I had a email come in saying, why wasn't there any snow? Because we have something new this year in our area for snow squall warnings, where you get these brief intense shots of snow with reduced visibility, less than a quarter of a mile. And there was a time on Friday where visibility, due to the falling snow, and it was heavy, and the blowing snow, we had visibility down to about 3-4 blocks, if that, for a period of time on Friday. So reached out to the National Weather Service. Once I get an answer back, I will email that individual and let them know. But I'm kind of surprised that we didn't have a little upgraded snow squall warning when that line came through. It was pretty intense, but we only picked up 0.7 of an inch of snow out of that. That was it.
Exactly. We didn't have a lot of snow. Visibility was down for a time, but again, I'm out in northern Cass County and needed to get to Hillsboro right around 5 o'clock. We probably had visibility half, 3/4 of a mile. The roads were clear. So that was really nice that nothing was sticking. That made it a lot better. But there were some areas, especially around you guys in Fargo-Moorhead Metro, that it wasn't looking as pretty. So Always call ahead, be safe, listen to the road reports. All those things matter depending where you are.
Right. And there is more snow in the forecast as well. Over the next couple of days, we do have a couple of shots of light snow, nothing too heavy, but a little bit here and a little bit there. It all adds up, and could see some slippery travel both tomorrow morning and Wednesday morning. And for Justin and I, Christmas doesn't come in a couple weeks. Christmas comes Wednesday. And we all know why, right?
Yes, it does. The
Yes,
LRC
our
cycle
LRC
is ready to
special.
be talked about.
Yep. Justin, why don't you tell them a little bit more about that?
Yeah, that'll be on December 7th, this Wednesday, so just 2 short days from now. About 2 days. We're going to be talking about what the LRC has in store for our area for the upcoming winter and into spring, and we'll be doing that from 2 to 5 o'clock on the Jay Thomas Show right here on WDAY Radio, and we'll also be streaming that on our YouTube and Facebook page as well, WDAY 970 AM. So we hope that you can join us for that and call in with questions or send those questions in via email ahead of time so we can get a little extra time to do a little digging if need be. You can send those questions to weather@flagfamily.com. And we'd be really interested to hear from you and for you to join us on this Wednesday, 2 to 5 o'clock.
Should be good time, and have your questions ready. And if you don't want to call in, we urge you to call in. But if you don't, you can send your questions ahead of time to weather@flagfamily.com, or you can send them to ag@flagfamily.com as well. We'll be kind of going over on what we can expect, not only for snowfall and bigger storms this winter, but we'll carry this into spring and early summer for our ag community to see if are we going to have to deal with continuing drought conditions, or will we see a kind of a break in the drought conditions for our farmers and ranchers as we head into let's say March, April, May, and June. So hopefully we've got some good news for most, but you have to wait until Wednesday to find out.
Yep. And we're going to be talking about that a little bit more coming up on the show. We'll touch on that forecast to see when we can be expecting these next couple short bursts of snow in our area. And then, hey, it might get a little warmer on the back half of our week. For the ag topics, we're going to be talking a little bit about GMO corn ban in Mexico, and that'll be pretty fitting because we have a guest on today. We'll be talking all about GMOs and myth-busting GMOs as Angus Kelly joins us from the National Corn Growers Association. We'll also touch on a few other things, including the railroad strike, what's going on with that, some renewable fuels and comments, as well as the Human Society concerns for one of their commercials. So we hope that you stay tuned for all of that and so much more as Weather and Ag in Focus returns.
From ABC News, I'm Richard Cantu. The Supreme Court today takes arguments in a case by a website designer who won't work on an LGBTQ project, claiming it offends her religious beliefs.
Lori Smith's 2019 lawsuit follows a similar case brought by Colorado baker Jack Phillips in 2012, who argued he should not be forced to make an LGBTQ-themed cake for a same-sex couple under his First Amendment right to express his own speech. He won the case on a technicality and a narrow ruling. Autumn Scardina, a transgender woman, is now suing Smith for violating her rights. Ultimately, the Supreme Court now gets to decide if one right overrides another.
ABC's Derek Dennis. Tens of thousands of homes and businesses in Moore County, North Carolina remain without electric power after Saturday's gunfire attacks on two power substations. Duke Energy spokesman Jeff Brooks.
We did determine that there had been intentional impact on the substation, damaging multiple pieces of equipment in the substation.
The FBI now involved in the investigation. All public schools canceled today in Moore County, North Carolina. No shortage of reaction to the last president's call to suspend the U.S. Constitution and reinstate him.
Ladies and gentlemen, Donald Trump keeps sinking to new lows.
Senate Majority Leader Charles Schumer.
Now he's calling for an end to America's constitutional democracy. Donald Trump is out of control and a danger to our democracy.
He has no ability to suspend the Constitution. Secondly,
but he says he's for it.
Well, he says a lot of things, but that doesn't mean that it's ever going to happen.
Ohio Republican Congressman David Joyce on ABC's This Week. Tampa Police Chief Mary O'Connor has been put on leave after video emerged of her flashing her badge from a golf cart with no license plate to get out of a traffic ticket. You're listening to ABC News.
Do you know a special woman who deserves nothing but the best for the holidays? This Christmas, spoil her with soft, silky, naturally nude pajamas. The next best thing to wearing nothing at all. Naturally nude pajamas, exclusively at Pajamagram, are smooth to the touch, light as air, truly seductive. Order today and Pajamagram will include a free matching naturally nude nightie. That's a $75 saving on a best-selling holiday gift. Yes, ordering today gets you a free $75 nightie. Definitely an effortless way to let her know how much you care. Now you can give her two sensuous gifts that she'll love to relax in. But hurry. Year after year, naturally nude pajamas sell out. So here's what you need to do. Head to pajamagram.com or text the word GIFT to 41234. That's GIFT to 41234. Order today, ships tomorrow.
This is Tyler with Tyler's Tree Service. We put people first. This mindset has nourished our roots and given us the strength to grow and flourish. Our greatest asset is our people. Our greatest opportunity is our customer. And our greatest commodity is our time. As we branch out, our focus will be 60 miles south and west of Fargo and everything in between. Details at tylerscut.com. We have done and will continue to do our best in bringing our best to the FM area. Tyler's Tree Service. No stick left behind.
Hi, I'm Chief Meteorologist Dean Wysocki. Join Gary Lezak and me along with Justin Storm and Ag Director Bridgette Readel for this year's Winter Weather Outlook. Gary invented a new way to forecast long-term weather using a recurring cycling method called the LRC. The LRC has accurately predicted our wet spring this year and predicted Hurricane Ian's landfall all the way back in March. Find out more on December 7th from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. on The Jay Thomas Show on AM 970 or 93.1 FM or watch online at am1100theflag.com. All brought to you by Jiffy Lube of Fargo.
And welcome back to Weather and Ag in Focus. Thanks for joining us as we rejoin ourselves here. It's about 1:13 in the afternoon right now, 17 degrees, but with a northwest wind at 17 miles per hour, well, it feels closer to zero out there, and unfortunately, we're not getting warmer today. We have falling temperatures across the area with a few little isolated areas of some light flurries, some light snow shower activity. We'll touch on that forecast here in just a moment. But Bridgette, I thought this was kind of interesting and kind of fitting. I wonder if you kind of did something here and weaseled these pieces together, because our guest today, we're going to be talking all about GMOs and corn. Well, what's going on with a ban in Mexico on GMO corn?
Sometimes you're just better lucky than good, and today I was lucky. So Angus Kelly is going to be joining us. He's with the National Corn Growers Association, and this was a topic that we've been batting around in the past as well regarding GMOs and what are some of the myths that people have about them. I really hope that folks do choose to join us and call in at 701-293-9000 today to bring their questions to Angus, and we'll answer them as best we possibly can. But in regards to what's happening in Mexico, Mexico has proposed a ban on GMO corn going into Mexico starting in 2024. Secretary Tom Vilsack, who is the United States Department of Agriculture Secretary, has had a conversation with the Mexican officials trying to help them understand how important changing their idea would be for not only the U.S. corn crop, but also for the Mexican economy. Now, we'd like to make sure they understand that corn coming in that would be available as livestock feed would be a great opportunity for them. But if this ban will in fact stand, those decisions are going to have to be made very, very quickly, because we don't just turn on a factory to build seed, we grow it. And so seed that would be grown for the 2024 season is going to be put in the ground now, raised in 2023, harvested, and then sold in 24. And if we would need a change in the GMO status, we'd have to do that very quickly if we're moving to more conventional varieties, etc. But in all reality, most of the U.S. corn producers are not going to make a change, which begs the question, where's Mexico going to find enough corn to satisfy food security, not only for people, but for livestock as well? And I don't know that they have the answer to that yet. So there's a little update on what's going on in Mexico right now with their ban on U.S. GMO corn.
Have you heard anything? This came up a couple of months ago. Wasn't there some ban on avocados? Was that importing avocados from Mexico in the United States, or was that vice versa? I want to say it was coming into the U.S.
I agree with you. I think it was the U.S. didn't want avocados coming in probably last year at like Christmas time, but I don't remember the reason why. Now, my understanding is that's changed, and it may have to do with one of their farming practices. Perhaps it had an issue with cleanliness, or maybe they were using a pesticide that's not registered in the U.S. I'll have to do some research to find out what that actual answer was, but I can still find avocados. I don't know about you guys. Maybe you're not really looking for them lately.
Oh, I can still find them, but they're about $1.50 a pop, so I just kind of stray away from the avocados nowadays because it's too spendy. You want to do anything with them, you got to buy more than just one. But Dean, why don't we take a short look at what that forecast is looking like around the area? Because I know we're seeing a little bit of light snow around the area that is mixing with some wind. It's not really too big of a deal today, but what comes in tonight and into tomorrow morning and then the following day might pose some implications for travel for some.
Yeah, a little bit. The good thing is we're not looking at the very strong winds like we had last Friday. It will be breezy, but nothing like 40-plus mile-an-hour wind gusts that we had last Friday. A couple of upper-level waves are going to be moving through here. One tonight, as Arctic air will slowly sink southward, and these little upper-level energy pieces are riding right on the southern end of that Arctic air mass. Tonight, we'll see that light snow overspread the area from west to east, and we could pick up about an inch or so of snow, favoring areas central and northern valley. We'll keep an eye on that. Doesn't look like a big deal, but again, right at your morning commute, so your morning commute could be a little bit slippery tomorrow. That should be out of here by noon tomorrow, and then temperatures right around the upper teens to near 20, and then another system comes through as we head into Tuesday night and Wednesday. That might give us another inch or so of snow. So over the next couple of days, about an inch to 3 inches. We're getting some indications from our latest computer model runs. We could be pushing 4 inches in some areas, so we'll keep a close eye on that. Again, scattered slippery travel, but Arctic air for Wednesday, single-digit highs. But it's quick in nature. It should be the core of the Arctic air should slide east, and we should start our warm-up as we head into the end of the week. Now, by warm-up, it's all, it's all relative, but even 20s.
Near average, at least.
Yeah, upper 20s to near 30. Yeah. That's not bad. And then according to the LRC, could have another storm system coming in here early next week. Could have a couple of them. So we'll be keeping a close eye on that. And again, don't forget, as we promoted it earlier, Wednesday on the Jay Thomas Show. So right after WAG, Weather Nag in Focus, we will have our winter weather outlook with Gary Lezak. We'll be breaking down month by month using the LRC when we can expect the possibility of bigger storms, Arctic outbreaks, dry spells, little warm-ups in between. But I'll tell you what, this winter, if we're getting these cold punches in that we had in October where we were 20 to close to 30 degrees below normal, when that cycles back later this winter, it's not going to be fun.
No, it will be rather cold. And that's going to be a long day for the three of us on Wednesday. It'll be a 4-hour stretch. It'll be a marathon for us.
It will be fun, though.
But so much fun.
It's always a blast, and being able to use the LRC. We're the only meteorologists in the Northern Plains that actually use this forecasting method. So it'll be interesting. You can mark your calendars by it and kind of hold our feet to the fire like Jay Thomas did last year.
Yeah, and we just pushed those feet right away from the fire every time he tried to get us a little closer to it. Nope, back that fire up, not today. Well, we hope you stay with us during our next commercial break. We're going to get our guest on the line in there, and we hope that you're able to call in and ask any questions that you may have, because it should be an interesting conversation with Angus Kelly from the National Corn Growers Association. We're going to be talking about these myths about GMOs and so much more about them, and what exactly are they, and what are they doing for us right now. If you would like to give us a call, get that number ready, 701-293-9000. Weather and Ag in Focus. We'll be right back.
Celebrating 100 years with $100. Listen every Thursday all year long as we thank you for being a loyal WDAY listener. This is our year, and we want to make it yours too by giving you cash. Listen during Bonnie and Friends, The Coffee Club, WDAY Midday, and The Jay Thomas Show. And if you hear the cue to call, be caller 9 and win $100 from the station celebrating 100 years all year long. AM 970 and FM 93.1 WDAY.
It's Jay and Ronnie from the Coffee Club, and we love MyPillow. We absolutely love the Giza Dream Sheets, made with the world's best cotton, grown only in a region between the Sahara Desert, the Mediterranean Sea, and the Nile River. Its long staple cotton makes it ultra soft and breathable.
Yeah, let me tell you, this 400 thread count, they are fantastic sheets. They are warm when you need to be warm. They are cool when you need to have very thin layer between you and the mattress. It is a fantastic sleep with Giza Dream Sheets. 60-day money-back guarantee, machine washable and durable, and a 10-year warranty.
Available in multiple colors, styles, and sizes. All right now for a great low price of $29.99 with promo code WDAY. All you need to do is go to MyPillow.com, go to Listener Radio Special Box, put in the promo code WDAY. MyPillow.com, go to Listener Radio Special Box, put in the promo code WDAY.
Promo code WDAY.
Hey, Chris Berg here. Radio personalities like myself, we spend a ton of time and energy during the day, obviously in front of the computer. We're looking for news stories for you, talking to callers. So when the day is finally over, I get to go home and crawl into my Comfort King excited because I know I'm going to get a great night's sleep. At Comfort King Mattress Factory, they build a mattress just for you. That's what they do. Comfort King has the only lifetime comfort guarantee. So buy local and shop Comfort King Mattress Factory.
Hey, Fargo Moorhead, let us introduce ourselves. We're Brock Martell and Stone, and we invite you to sprint on over to our amazing new showroom. You'll be pumped to see the countertops you can score. Brock Martell and Stone has a selection of 10 stock quartz colors to offer a streamlined process and quick turnaround time. Brock Martell and Stone, just south of Costco on Veterans Boulevard.
And yeah, we have white quartz with gray veining.
Granite and quartz, it's what we do, baby.
This is Spencer Brandt from Media Shack LLC. Do you want to have fun at the workplace? Media Shack's the place for you. Join our hardworking team of 14 people. We're currently hiring sales, embroidery, screen printing, production, and shipping and receiving positions. To get started, go to MediaShackFargo.com/careers. That's MediaShackFargo.com/careers, or call 701-612-9363 and ask for Jenna. That's 701-612-9363.
And welcome to WDAY Weather and Ag in Focus. So very glad that you're joining us, especially today. I have Dean Wysocki, who's our chief meteorologist, along with Justin Storm, meteorologist extraordinaire, with me today. I'm Bridgette, Readel, Ag Director. And on the line, we also have with us from the National Corn Growers Association, Angus Kelly, because we want to do some myth busting about GMOs today, what people should really know. And for those of you who have questions, we would ask that you please give us a call at 701-293-9000. You can email us weather or ag at flagfamily.com. And above all, if you are watching on Facebook Live, YouTube, or Acres TV, make sure that you're using those phone numbers. We'd love to have you reach out to us. So, Angus, we've talked about you, but why don't you introduce yourself? What do you do at the Corn Growers Association besides help fix all those misconceptions that are out there?
Thanks, Bridgette. I'm a director of public policy based in the Washington, D.C. operation.
Well, that tells me that if we don't get any more questions about GMOs, we can ask you about the potential ban in Mexico, because we already talked about that just a few minutes ago, too. So, Angus, tell me go ahead, sir.
I was just going to say, I heard in your previous segment, y'all were talking about avocados. And
yes,
it's true. Now, I don't work for the National Avocado Association, but I do follow trade. And I believe it was because locally in Mexico, they wouldn't allow in APHIS inspectors, USDA, Animal Plant Health Inspection Service, to be precise, and they wouldn't let in APHIS inspectors look at the avocados. So the USDA did a retaliatory measure and said, we're not letting avocados into the U.S. And this actually was during right in lead up to the Super Bowl. So you can imagine the uproar, but they fixed that problem. So corn is not the only so-called trade irritant that we have with Mexico. But anyway, let's talk biotechnology and look forward to visiting about it.
Excellent. So my first question is, what do you always get asked? What's the most common misconception that people have about GMOs in relationship to corn that you are consistently helping to correct?
Well, it's I don't know if irony is a word, but when you talk to sort of foodie elitists or some of the ostensibly better educated people, the university class, they go, I don't know, we have a lot of corn in our diet, and I read this book and I watched this documentary on Netflix, and they talked about GMOs and how they might not be safe. So I shop at Whole Foods or wherever, and I try to be sure to buy non-GMO. And as a friend of mine put it, he says, when my wife watches these documentaries on GMOs, he said, my grocery bill goes up every time. And I said, well, in a sense, I got nothing against organic as long as organic doesn't as long as they don't market their product at the expense of modern agriculture. But I do say that organic is generally a tax on the gullible.
Oh, that's a good statement. Absolutely. Okay, Dean, Justin, before I ask my myriad of questions, you guys get into.
Sure. Well, Angus, so what percentage of the crops in the U.S. that are grown are GMO?
92%, somewhere around there, is GM, and maybe we should back up and talk a little bit about what GM is. Probably a lot of your listeners know, but I think if you ask somebody on the street what a GMO is, I don't know that they could tell you other than it's got baggage. For the purposes of what we're growing in neck of the woods, you got GM sugar beets, you might have a little bit of GM canola, and obviously corn, soy, all GM, and all pushing 85, 90+%. And that's true for the other major producers of corn, like Brazil and Argentina. They're also growing like 90+%. So from a farmer standpoint, they like it because they can spray an environmentally benign herbicide or environmentally friendly herbicide called glyphosate on it, brand name Roundup. And they also like it because the plant has inside the plant is basically, it's like an armor against insects. It's insect resistant. So when worms eat the plant, then they die. You say, well, hold on, how come when insects eat the plant, they die? We don't when we consume it or when cattle consumes it. Well, the answer is because we have acidic stomachs, and Lepidoptera, fancy term for worms, they have a salinic stomach, so they can't digest it. So basically, and now we got some cool new biotechnology coming online that's going to be drought tolerant. And so you're going to have water savings, you're going to have pesticide reduction, and then you're going to be able to spray one broad spectrum herbicide to kill those weeds without killing the plants.
Now, are these crops that are grown that are GMO crops? Are they related in any way to allergies? I've heard that for many years that a lot of allergies can be contributed to that.
Short answer is, according to all the major food safety agencies, so you don't have to just take the Food and Drug Administration's word for it, but also the European Food Safety Association, a few others, WHO, they've looked at that. They've looked at the nutrition, and they've looked at any sort of allergenicity, if I could use a big word, and GMOs have a clean bill of health. Now, full disclosure, I worked for I used to work for Syngenta for a long time, and so I worked for a biotech company, and we would spend millions and millions on regulatory dossiers to make sure that all the studies were in place and had been done to prove to regulators that there's no allergic reaction. And so far we've gotten it right. I mean, y'all, we've been eating GM products, and our livestock's been eating GM products for 25, 30 years, and nobody's had a tummy ache. So so you can understand why we were a little surprised when Mexico said, well, GMOs might be making us sick, so we don't want to import them anymore.
Well, we got a bunch more questions for you here, Angus, and we're speaking with Angus Kelly from the National Corn Growers Association, talking about GMOs and corn and so many more things about GMOs. And when we return, I want to know, why is it that GMOs are getting such a bad rep with the population out there, or a chunk of the population? I mean, why does you hear the word GMO and they're like, oh my God, this thing is going to kill me, or why are we doing this? So I want to take that route into GMOs when we come back from the bottom of the hour, and I'd encourage you to give us a phone call. If you have a question or just want to join the conversation, feel free to do so. 701-293-9000 is our phone number to connect directly to the studio line. Again, that's 701-293-9000. Weather and Ag in Focus will return in just a moment.
I'm with Bethany Rents from Ivory Insurance. Let's be honest, price is not an issue when it comes to crop insurance, but service is. How do you serve your clients better?
We are available 24/7 to answer any questions that you may have regarding your crop insurance policy. Your success is our most important mission, and mitigating your risk is what we want to ensure that we do for you each and every day.
Bethany's boots are in the field right with you, and nobody can beat Bethany's all-star service. Call now and find out the difference. 701-740-2983.
Ivory Insurance is an equal opportunity provider.
Are you looking for a career where you can really make a difference? It's easy to work when you're making someone's day every day. That's what happens at Senior Helpers. Enjoy competitive pay with an increase after 90 days, flexible scheduling, 401k, and advancement opportunities. Get that truly rewarding career you're looking for at Senior Helpers. Go to seniorhelpers.com. That's seniorhelpers.com today.
God, I'm so stressed about my business not being ready for the holidays.
Ooma.
What is that? Meditation?
I'm recommending the Ooma cloud phone system with auto attendant and more than 35 features.
Ooma?
Yep. Switching to Ooma is a cinch. Starts at $19.95 per month per user, plus taxes and fees.
Ooma.
Now you're feeling it. Visit Ooma.com. That's OOMA.com to learn more. Ooma. Smart communications for the smarter business.
I'm Tamron Hall. Why give your family just ordinary eggs when they can enjoy the best? Eggland's Best. The only eggs with more fresh and delicious taste, plus superior nutrition compared to ordinary eggs. With 6 times more vitamin D, 10 times more vitamin E, 25% less saturated fat, and 38% more lutein. Because the way we care is anything but ordinary. Only Eggland's Best. Better taste, better nutrition, better eggs.
Get ready for the action at the all-finished concrete Snowcross National, presented by Coast Materials, December 16th through the 18th at the Red River Valley Fairgrounds. Witness the warriors of winter as the world's best snowcross racers battle on an extreme track in West Fargo. Fan-friendly, high-speed action makes for big-time family fun. Don't miss the all-finished concrete Snowcross National, December 16th through the 18th at the Red River Valley Fairgrounds. Tickets available at redrivervalleyfair.com.
Is your family stuck in a boring rut for entertainment?
63.
Bring the gang to Sweet Shots, your new hub for family entertainment and great food, plus a variety of golf games powered by Top Tracer technology while in a heated bay. Sweet Shots provides the clubs, the balls, and you can enjoy apps or a signature burger from our Scratch Kitchen and a cocktail from one of our 4 full-service bars. Meet, play, dine at Sweet Shots Fargo.
There's no more difficult decision than how to care for an aging parent with round-the-clock needs. As a healthcare professional, I've been inside every long-term care and assisted living facility in the area. Some are large and decked out with brand new furnishings, but that wasn't important to us when it was time for Mom to have 24-hour care. There was just one place on my list, and that was Kinder Care in West Fargo. I could tell they were different from all the rest. We've grown to love Kinder Care for the exceptional caregivers and for treating each person like a family member. The caregivers text me and give me updates too. Whatever your family member needs, from memory care, medication assistance, rides to appointments, and leisure activities throughout the day, home cooking too. We rest well each night knowing she's well cared for and loved. Call or text Melanie at Kinder Care for a tour today. 701-261-3246. That's 701-261-3246.
And welcome back to Weather and Ag in Focus. Thanks for rejoining us this afternoon. I'm Meteorologist Justin Storm with Chief Meteorologist Dean Wysocki and Ag Director Bridgette Readel, as well as our fantastic guest today, Angus Kelly from the National Corn Growers Association. We're talking about myths and everything about GMOs, and I'd encourage you to give us a phone call and join our conversation by dialing 701-293-9000 if you have any questions. And before we went to break there, Angus, I was wondering, why is it that GMOs just get such a bad rep with people?
Well, I don't think you can talk about the let's say the beginning or the birth of GM technology in the mid 1990s without talking about Monsanto. And so they earned the name Monsantin by certain environmental activist groups. And having worked over in Europe, I used to lobby in the European Union, if you can believe it, and I have the scars to prove it. But they were Europe was very anti-GMO. They still are, but also slightly anti-big agribusiness, anti-Monsanto. Of course, now Monsanto has been swallowed up by Bayer, which is kind of funny when you think about it, because Bayer is obviously a German company. But I think a lot of the protest against this technology is just as much a protest against companies. Going as far back to when, was it Dow? Dow Chemical had Agent Orange, and Monsanto had napalm, whatever it was, paraquat. I mean, in the Vietnam War, when the protest movement started, a lot of these multinationals, Union Carbide, I could go on, developed a bad reputation, and they never really shook it. So when Monsanto led, and I'm glad they did, I think Monsanto should win a Nobel Peace Prize for having fed so many people. But when they led the pack and invested so fully into launching GMOs, there was tons of backlash. And I think it's just as much the company as it was the product, if that makes sense.
Right. So with the GMOs, is it saving costs in food and crops, or is it taking extra money to do something like that?
Justin, I've always been bothered when I hear people talking about, well, why don't farmers just grow organically? Why do they need hybrids and like really sophisticated seed germplasms and all kind of crop protection products? I guess the reason it's insulting to me is that farmers are clever, man. They ain't going to spend millions of dollars in aggregate on protecting their crop if they weren't getting it back, if it wasn't balancing out in the ledger. So the reason you pay some $250 per bag of seed, whatever it's up to, I'm sure it's gone up, or you spend hundreds of dollars to be able to spray crop protection products depending on your pest pressure, is because it pays for itself and then some. And the productivity has skyrocketed thanks to modern agriculture. So yeah, I mean, if it didn't pencil out, I can tell you, coming from a farm background myself, if it doesn't pencil out, ag producers not going to do it. And so obviously they must find that the economics work, but also there's an environmental, the buzzword, everybody talks about environmental sustainability. Well, when you don't spray as many insecticides that don't get into the water and you can just spray one herbicide rather than a bunch of herbicides, that's pretty good too.
And Angus, you make some really awesome points there about, we lowered the amount of pesticide use on a per acre basis by going to GMOs, whether it was insecticides, et cetera. We increased the efficiency and the bushels per acre that we were taking off those fields because this population globally is not going down. We're going to continue to see it increase significantly over the next few years. And I think one myth that people don't realize, not every crop is GMO. Early on, you listed the right ones: sugar beets, soybeans, corn, canola. There's really only 7, perhaps now 8 if we look at CRISPR potatoes. But generally speaking, folks, there's not every crop. And whenever I hear someone say, well, there's GMO wheat, there's not GMO wheat. And also GMO does not mean it's gluten-free, it has additional gluten, etc. Those are things that are not going out there. So if you have comments, or Justin, if you've got questions about those things, I just probably word vomited a lot of stuff right there.
No, that's great. I'm glad that you added that because I didn't know. I'm not very familiar with the whole background. I didn't know if it was everything or just a few things, but I do have another question that I wanted to lead down into with the GMOs. What's the direction that I'm going to say we as in a group of people are trying to do? What's the next thing we're trying to make that leap in GMO?
The next generation of biotechnology, it has a lot of names, but it's basically the same thing. It's all related. It's called CRISPR, or you may hear it called gene editing, gene silencing, mRNA technology. It's all a newer way of, if I could, for lack of a better expression, modifying, although it's technically not a genetically modified organism, but you're tweaking plants to breed favorable characteristics in that plant, and the unfavorable characteristics you're editing out or you're silencing them. And so far, if it's a single gene edit, and I don't want to get too scientific because then I'll get lost, but if it's a single gene edit, then these new crops or existing crops are no longer considered GMOs, and they don't have to be regulated as GMOs because it's such a minor change. So that's the next generation. I had one executive tell me, who's at the forefront of gene editing technology, he said that gene editing is going to be like the printing press in the 1600s for agriculture. It's agricultural applications. There's also a kind of bioscience, pharmaceutical applications. But gene editing, I think, is gonna give us a lot of opportunity and help us to save on fertilizer, help us to save on water. And so I think that technology holds a lot of promise. So it'll be funny. We'll be looking back at traditional ag biotech and saying, yeah, we don't really need that anymore.
And then I got one more. I know that I'm kind of eating up all the questions here, so I'll let Dean or Bridgette go after this.
Yeah,
but,
come on, man.
We've had people on in the past from different seed companies, and they're talking about, we're trying to breed these different traits into the plant. We want this to be more resistant to that. Is breeding traits and genetically modified, are those kind of similar, or are they different?
Yeah, basically because you've got to have the genetics, and then you got to have the seed to put the genetics into. Also might call that germplasm. So you got to have the local varieties that work for your farmers, and then you've got to buy the intellectual property from a Bayer or BASF or Syngenta or whatever. You've got to buy the rights to be able to use that technology, whether it's Roundup Ready or BT tolerant, whatever it is. So yeah, you bring together the genetics, like and then you put it in those local varieties, those local seed varieties, and boom, you've got your plant.
And Angus, I was going to ask you a question here, but our producer Jacob had a question. Jacob, why don't you pipe in and ask? That's a good question. He doesn't want. All right. Well, the question was, has there been any pushback that you have seen on the lobbying side, since people are kind of split 50-50 on what people should lobby on? Has that been a kind of a hot button topic?
Jacob asks a good question, even though he was too timid to pipe in. So I'm gonna break it down like this. I know y'all are so polite in the Dakotas, but anyway, I'm gonna break it down like this. In terms of GM, no, it's fairly bipartisan. Only a very small vocal minority is worried about the safety of GMOs, where you do see some split, or where particularly the Democrat side of the aisle tends to get nervous, especially if they represent California or Massachusetts or other states that are very progressive and have a strong environmentalist bent. They get nervous about glyphosate, and there's a campaign against Roundup, against glyphosate. So they're usually pretty good with and accept the safety of GMOs, but because there's a trial lawyer campaign and I think some junk science out there about glyphosate being bad for people or the environment, from what we've researched, we don't believe it, but you have to talk about it in those terms. So yeah, glyphosate has had some headwinds as a technology, but we really can't do without it, and there's no good alternative. And glyphosate has a very good ecological toxicological profile.
Psychology.
So yeah.
Yeah, as often as people get very concerned about glyphosate, the reason glyphosate comes up so much, it's the #1 used herbicide globally. So it's easy to target #1 versus just anything else out there that's not a familiar name. And, glyphosate's in the homeowner market. The unfortunate thing is when incidents happen with glyphosate or GMOs that are negative to someone or the environment, it's because they were misused. Everything comes with a label. Everything comes with rules from the EPA, from FIFRA, which is the Food, Insecticide, Fungicide, Rodenticide Act. And all of those labels are there for a reason, so that people follow them. When you don't follow them, that's bad. It's sort of like when you do something stupid with your car and your insurance agent won't cover you. Don't do that. It wasn't meant to be that way in the first place. So many good things. And Angus, we just have a couple of moments left with you here, but any last thoughts? Do you want to jump in on the whole situation with the trade deal with Mexico right now, with them wanting to ban U.S. corn imports into Mexico by 2024 because of potential concerns with GMOs? Anything you want to share there?
The latest is, and I heard a little bit in your earlier segment, Secretary Tom Vilsack, USDA, went down to the National Palace in Mexico City and met with the president of Mexico, Lopez Obrador, and said, look, what's going on here? And they said, well, maybe we'll allow animal feed in, but we would like to be self-sufficient in white corn. Animal feed, as a lot of your listeners will know, is yellow corn, but you also use yellow corn for all kind of food grade uses, industrial uses. So it's not good enough to say we'll allow animal feed in, but not white corn or food grade yellow corn. So we still have a major problem on our hands. And, I think Senators Hoeven and Kramer, it'd be good for them to get involved and maybe place a call over to the U.S. Trade Representative and the responsible parties in the White House and say, this needs to be fixed because we've got a lot of GM, 90+% of corn is GM, to say nothing of soybeans, cotton, canola, and Mexico is still saber rattling, saying they're going to stop shipments. They haven't so far. I'm going to touch, there's some wood right here, but we can't take that for granted. So it really, now is the time to have a formal consultation under the U.S.-Mexico-Canada agreement. And that's been our consistent message to Capitol Hill and to all the trade negotiators in the federal government here.
Folks, we have had the great pleasure of having Angus Kelly of the National Corn Growers Association join us today to talk about GMOs as well as what's been going on in the discussions and trade agreements with Mexico. Angus, I'm going to keep your contact information because you just never know and we may have more questions. We are going to return after this update from the American Ag Network, and we'll continue on talking about what's coming up for snowfall, our LRC special, which is going to happen Wednesday this week. And if you still have questions, send them to us at 701-293-9000. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
It's Jay and Ronnie from the Coffee Club, and we enjoy drinking coffee because it keeps us energized and focused.
Well, let's be frank. I enjoy drinking coffee because coffee keeps me wide-eyed in the morning, but I'll tell you this type of coffee is organic, specialty-grade coffee, beans selected from the top 2% available, 100% Arabica bean coffee, certified organic, non-GMO, low acidity, rich, smooth, and ready to drink.
The finish is clean and it has a pleasant aftertaste. It's delicious. It's so far the best coffee that we've had. It's also roasted and packed in the US of A. We love it and we guarantee you will too. All you need to do is go to mystore.com, click on My Coffee, and enter the promo code WDAY.
That's promo code WDAY to get your own My Coffee.
It's also roasted and packed in the US of A. We love it and we guarantee you will too. Go to mystore.com, promo code WDAY.
Well, President Trump has announced, and now Ron DeSantis is rising fast in the polls. Newsmax is conducting an urgent poll. Do you want Donald Trump or Ron DeSantis as your candidate in 2024? It's a big question. Newsmax wants to know what you think. Vote in the Newsmax poll, Trump versus DeSantis. Just text the word ZONE to 39747. That's ZONE to 39747. It only takes seconds. Let your voice be heard. Every day I tune into Newsmax for news I can trust. They're even beating CNN in some key ratings. So make the switch and vote in Newsmax poll on Trump versus DeSantis. Text the word ZONE to 39747. One more time, the word ZONE to 39747. And make the switch to Newsmax today. You'll love it.
Wheat sharply lower, pulls corn and soybeans lower on Monday's trade as well. This is the American Ag Network. I'm Jesse Allen with this closing market update. Well, the smackdown in wheat saw corn get pulled lower as well, and soybeans ended up succumbing to the pressure with some weakness developing there despite good strength in bean meal that was seen with a new contract high scored by March meal. Overall, corn, wheat, and bean oil extended their weakness throughout the day as we started mostly positive in the overnight with news about China's economy slowly reopening as they relax COVID restrictions. However, the dollar was breaking lower, did move back to the upside through the day. That provided just one headwind for the commodities, and there really wasn't any other fundamental reason to counter the selling on the day. In livestock, mostly mixed day. Feeder cattle demand improved with the weaker feed prices, but lean hogs and live cattle were otherwise mixed to firm and relatively quiet trade on the day on Monday's session. Final numbers on Monday. Corn, March down 5 3/4, 640 1/2. July down 4 3/4, 639 1/2. Soybeans, January down 3/4, 1437 3/4. March beans were down 1 1/2, 1445. Bean meal for January up $8 a ton, 432.10. January bean oil down 265 points, 62.57. Chicago wheat, March down 22, 739. May down 22 1/2, 750 3/4. March KC wheat down 29, 841 3/4. Spring wheat, March 18 lower, 903 1/4. July down 15 1/2 at 901 3/4. Livestock, December live cattle down 12, 153.22. February down 5, 155.82. April live cattle unchanged at 159.57. Feeder cattle, January up 132, 183.77. March up 110, 186.37. December hogs down 35, 82.07. February up 10, 90.52. And April hogs unchanged at 95.82. This is the American Ag Network.
And welcome back to Weather and Ag in Focus. I'm Meteorologist Justin Storm here with Chief Meteorologist Dean Wysocki and our one and only amazing, very talented and successful Ag Director, Bridgette Readel. And we just got done speaking with Angus Kelly from the National Corn Growers Association, talking about GMOs and There's a lot of stuff in there I had no idea about, so I'm glad we were able to not only inform some of our listeners, but also myself. And our video producer, Michael, made a good point. He's like, you're going to have to get the new GMO farming simulator DLC for your game. Have to go dive into that a little bit. But we still got a few topics that we're going to try and get to today, as well as one more check at the forecast, because I know they're still dealing with a little bit of light snow in some spots, not very widespread, really isolated, just some little convective rolls of snow forming out west, but a couple more bursts of snow are what we're expecting over the next couple of days, and most of that looks like they're coming through overnight and then just kind of bleeding into a little bit of the morning of Tuesday as well as Wednesday, and I'll let Dean go a little deeper into that here in just a moment. But Bridgette, why don't we go into an ag topic here before we take a look at that forecast and what's going on with renewable fuels for public comment period?
Well, late last week, the EPA announced that they were making some changes to their renewable fuel standards. And when doing that, you saw that the corn ethanol renewable fuel standard was going to go from E10 to E15, which is the blend, right? 10% corn ethanol versus now it'll be a higher percentage at 15. The soybean complex was not as favorable, as there was looking to be less gallons of biodiesel. The comment period, though, is now indeed open for the public to be able to comment on several areas. One of those actually includes electric vehicles. Are you for or against that type of thing? Also clean hydrogen energy. And how can the EPA best support sustainable aviation fuels? Better balance with proposed volumes to work with those renewable fuels and customers, methods for the EPA to work with domestic oil refining assets, etc. So there's about 5 subject areas that you as the public can comment on by going to the EPA's website and letting your feelings and understanding be known. Maybe even if you have any concerns or some real positives you want to share about renewable fuels. We know that renewable fuels are a big push. We will probably see lower expectations in crude oil, I don't want to say mining, crude oil pumping over the next few years as we see more of a shift towards some of these renewable fuels. But nonetheless, we want folks to be able to share what they think to the EPA as to what they'd like to see done locally for them as well. So that's positive that the public comment period is now open.
I see. I want to pick something out of there that you had mentioned just to clarify. Did you say that they were raising the ethanol content in gas from 10 to 15, or is that a thought?
That's a proposal. It hasn't been done yet, but that's one of the proposals that would happen over the next couple of years with this renewable fuel situation. There would be some states that would also have that E15 available year round. There are several state governors who want to do that because currently it has been only specific states, specific months during the year that the E15 has been available, and it could go higher now on a more of a year-round basis. So those are some details that are being worked out.
And now this might be a little out of your wheelhouse and field, but if they were to bump that up from 10% to 15% of the gasoline content being ethanol, what do you feel like that would do for the gas prices? Do you think they just kind of stay the same? Would it become a little cheaper for the gasoline if it's less gas and more ethanol, or the ethanol and gasoline kind of just balance out on cost?
So there's potential to be flat to down, and a lot of that depends on what kind of renewable fuel credits are paid from government to the ethanol plants. That'll be a part of it. But I think as far as the environmental push that this current presidential administration is making to want to see a higher number of renewable fuels used over crude oil and petroleum products, I can see where this could be a lower cost. Now you get the argument, my mileage is going to go down, or I might not have as great efficiency in my vehicle by using a higher ethanol
power
blend.
Reduction too.
Yeah. And that goes both ways. I've heard it from mechanics saying that that's a concern depending on the car that's being used versus those who say, nope, it's fine. Now, that's probably an area, and I know Jay Thomas has had some folks on his show to talk about that. What's the right answer to it? It depends on if you're a regular gasoline vehicle engine, small engines like chainsaws, etc. This all happens quite a lot. So there's a number of factors. It's probably something we can talk about on another show date to try to explain all of those differences with renewable fuels. But I want to know what's going to be happening with the weather for the next couple days before we get to our LRC cycle, you guys, because there's quite a number of things that are going to happen in the next 10 days from the sound of it.
Yeah, nothing major, it doesn't look like, but these little snow events keep popping up and riding through the northern Rockies. In fact, winter weather advisories right now in effect for much of northern Montana. Wouldn't be surprised to see some of those spread into North Dakota. Other than that, much of the nation is quiet. The Sierra Nevada range has picked up 3 to 4 feet of snow. That's great news. That's absolutely fantastic news out west. Let's see. Everything else in the U.S. is pretty quiet with the exception of the northern Colorado mountains. They have avalanche warnings there as they're expecting more snow. Good news for ski country, not so much for the avalanche stuff. But for us, we'll see these little waves of snow ride into our area over the next few days. Overall, the total snowfall by Wednesday afternoon, probably 1 to 3 inches. Some spots will pick up maybe 4 or 5 inches, but a general 1 to 3 here in the FM area. Again, with some areas getting slightly higher amounts. Our latest computer model runs are trying to crank up a little bit more in the way of snowfall, favoring areas just north and northwest of the FM area. So something we'll keep a close eye on. It will affect your morning commute both Tuesday and Wednesday. Some scattered slippery spots expected, but not a lot of wind with it as well. And as Bridgette was saying, Wednesday, we will have our LRC special. Me, Justin, Bridgette, and Gary Lezak, the founder of the LRC, will be on air with us. We'll be breaking down month by month what we're expecting for this upcoming winter and spring, and we'll even poke a little bit into summer to give our ag community kind of an idea. Are we going to have drought conditions as we head into the spring and summer, or will it be wet like last year where it was a late planting season? We'd like ideal conditions, but Gary and we'll touch on that, and we'll kind of break it down month by month. So it's really going to be a fun day on Wednesday. And again, that's from 2 o'clock to 5 o'clock. We invite everybody to tune in and feel free to call. Have your questions ready. You've got 3 meteorologists and an ag expert to pick brains with. So what a day. That's our early Christmas.
It's going to be a fun day.
Yeah.
It's going to be a great day, and we really want people. We're already getting questions. I've been asked multiple times over the weekend, what's Dean going to say? What are Justin going to predict? Yeah, that's what we're going to do Wednesday, kids, so everybody tune in.
That's right. And that'll do it for us today. Jay Thomas is giving me dirty looks. He wants to get in here. He's got his show to do. So for me and Justin and Bridgette, we want to thank you for tuning in. Be sure to tune in tomorrow for Weather and Ag in Focus at 1.
970 WDAY AM and 93.1 FM.